Barnaby Jones, a Quinn Martin production, starring Buddy Ebsen. Also starring Lee Merriweather, with guest stars Larry Hagman, Bill Balance, Leslie Ackerman, special guest star Marcia Rod.
Boy, I feel stuffed after that lunch. If I don't get out of this wheelchair soon, Miss Hollister, I'm going to blow up like a balloon. All I do is eat and sleep.
I'm going to talk to Dr. Rickers about that. I think it's time we started you on a physical therapy program.
I bet I put on 10 pounds.
Start you on a diet as soon as you're strong enough. Be your old slender self in no time. I turned the speaker volume a little low. Some of your neighbors may not appreciate Mr. Bill Edwards' bedroom humor.
Oh, he's not that bad. It's all fun.
This is station KBEX. Please stay tuned for the Bill Edwards Show.
You just give a holler, you need anything. I'll be fixing myself some lunch.
All right, now, let me carefully emphasize to my radio listeners now joining me that I've been expounding to 3,000 people seated out in front of me. Well, okay, make that 11 people, including the cute little red-headed captivator now casing my engineer so lovingly that, well, the first platform of women's lib should be doing away with beauty parlors. Now, this would give us men an equal chance at not getting all messed up and emotionally jostled at such tender ages. I mean, no makeup, no hairdos, and instead of silk and fluff and all those goodies which have been giving me high blood pressure long before my time, just a simple sackcloth. Well, enough of that verbal jousting and down to business. Today's topic for you dainties out there, I love every one of you, even wearing your smoldering sackcloth and sporting those mustaches. Today's topic is, what was your most embarrassing moment when dating your hubby, boyfriend, or live-in for the first time? Okay, switchboard's lighting up, and my dear, that does keep Billo off the unemployment lines.
Miss Hollister! Miss Hollister, I don't believe what happened. When I drove by the Rickers' house, there was a police car, an ambulance. A neighbor said she was dead. Dr. Rickers' wife, Ellen.
Oh, no. Did they say how it happened, Mrs. Barnes?
I don't know. Where's Kathy?
Oh, she's on the patio napping.
Kathy? Kathy, are you awake?
Oh, hi, Mom. Is the Edwards show over already? Don't tell me I slept through it all.
No, dear. I turned it off after you went to sleep, about half an hour ago.
Oh. Is something the matter, Ma? What's wrong?
Dr. Ricker's wife, Ellen. She's dead.
The call was logged at 6 minutes past 2. He didn't leave his name. It's just that there seemed to be some kind of disturbance going on here.
You been able to reach Dr. Rickers?
He's in surgery since 2 o'clock, but I have a man at the hospital to break the news.
Check along the block, see if you can come up with that caller and find out exactly what kind of commotion he heard here.
Right.
That's all the police have, at least up to the time I asked for their report.
That's all they have. An eyewitness who saw Dr. Melford arguing with the victim shortly before the police were called about a disturbance in the house?
Yeah, and throw in the fact that said eyewitness saw Dr. Melford visit that house other times in the past, and you can't blame Lieutenant Biddle for holding him on suspicion of murder. Oh, Jim, this is Barnaby Jones, a private investigator I've taken the liberty of hiring. Barnaby, Dr. Jim Melford, resident surgeon at Wilshire Memorial.
Why no bail? I got some creep of a cellmate who's been pushing junk. He'll be doing business at his old stand in the morning.
Jim, you'll be held for 72 hours.
The lieutenant. Biddle, is that his name? Why isn't he out there trying to find out who killed Ricker's wife instead of trying to hang me?
Well, I've known Lieutenant Biddle for a number of years, and it's my opinion that he doesn't try to hang people.
He's on our side.
Dr. Melford, wouldn't it be a lot more productive if we just sat down quietly and kind of discussed the charges that are being made?
I got a right to be upset. Got back to the hospital, parking my car, and 6 cops started grabbing me.
You left the hospital at 1:30 today and can't explain where you were for the next hour and a half, during which time Dr. Ricker's wife was murdered.
Right. Washed up after a session with 2 burn cases. Drove to the county tennis courts to see if my usual partner was around. He wasn't. Back at the hospital at 3:30.
So you didn't play any tennis?
Wandered around watching a few games. What's unusual about being on county courts and not meeting anybody you know?
Jim, Mr. Jones isn't questioning your statement.
Of course he is. Where do we go from I can't account for my time?
About this eyewitness, Kathy Barnes. She says she saw you enter the Rickers' house at 2 o'clock or shortly thereafter.
Eyewitness. A girl under constant medication who sleeps half each day away. She was hallucinating for a week after that skiing accident.
Then you're saying that the witness is not credible, that she is claiming to have seen things that she didn't see?
Exactly. She suffered a severe concussion. There is nothing unusual about sensory distortions for days, even weeks later.
Well, Ralph, I'll go over the ground and get back to you.
You don't believe me? That I didn't kill Ellen Rickers?
Dr. Melford, my job is to investigate the facts as thoroughly as I can and hand a report to your attorney. Was there anything in your relationship with Mrs. Rickers which was other than casual, friendly?
Well, I hardly knew Ellen Rickers. A hello when she dropped by the hospital, and a couple of times Dr. Rickers invited me to the house. That's it.
Thank you.
Well, I know it was 2 o'clock because I was listening to the radio talk show and it had just come on.
That's quite a distance away, Kathy. You had no trouble recognizing the man you saw as Dr. Melford?
Well, like I told Lieutenant Biddle, I met Dr. Melford at the hospital lots of times. He always wore the same wild sports coat. He used to kid about a resident doctor only affording 1 jacket. So he made darn sure he was getting his money's worth.
And this wasn't the first time you saw Dr. Melford visiting Mrs. Rickers?
Well, since my accident, being in a wheelchair, well, I never said anything about it before because, well, it wasn't any of my business.
Well, we'll talk again, Kathy.
Kathy, it's that time again.
I thought Dr. Rickers said I didn't have to take any more medicine.
These are only vitamins. Something to build up your strength.
Don't ever try to stem Christy around a tree, Mr. Jones. Not while you're watching a cute boy going by.
I'll keep that in mind. just be a few moments.
Good morning.
Oh, Dr. Rickers? I am sorry. Lieutenant Biddle gave me permission to look around. I didn't know you were here.
I'm afraid I'm not altogether here this morning.
I'm Barnaby Jones. I'm a private investigator. I'm assisting Dr. Melford's lawyer in looking into the facts of the case.
Well, if there's anything I can do to assist you, Mr. Jones, I'll be only too happy. Jim Melford did not kill my wife.
Well, Doctor, maybe some other time.
No, this should be cleared up as soon as possible. Not only is Jim's career at stake, but also my wife's integrity.
Dr. Melford thinks that in her present state, Kathy may have hallucinated the whole story.
Yes, he's right, of course. That girl's gone through many periods of disorientation since her accident.
I spoke to her a few minutes ago. She seemed alert, clear-headed.
I'm expecting rapid improvement now, but patients recovering from head injuries often fall into a dreamlike state. They imagine events which seem very real to them after awakening. Ironic, isn't it? This picture was taken at the Elmwood Spa. I don't know how many times Ellen phoned me, pleading with me to join her. Maybe tomorrow, I'd say. The irony is, no one can guarantee our tomorrows.
I won't bother you further, Doctor. Please accept my sympathy.
Mr. Jones, I can assure you of one thing you'll find during the course of your investigation. Jim Melford is totally innocent of the charges against him. You'll have to look elsewhere for my wife's killer.
There's the best relaxing exercise in the world.
And tones up the midriff, huh?
It does much more. Try it sometimes, Mr. Jones. You'll feel that old spine tingling.
Now, to get back to Mrs. Rickers, she spent some time here. Did you get to know her well?
Not too well. Made out a couple programs for her. You know, classes I thought she'd be interested in. Never was. Shame she's dead. I just heard about it an hour ago. Some of the guests talking about it.
You just heard about it an hour ago. It was in all the papers.
Oh, I didn't see the papers. Been up in the High Sierras camping with my son. You know that boy?
You know, Mr. Sims, what I'm trying to do is to put together a picture of Mrs. Rickers' life, her friends. Did she socialize much with the guests here?
Socialize? Wouldn't say that. No, not at all.
Just went through the health program and kind of kept to herself.
Health programs, Mrs. Rickers?
Would you like to explain that?
Well, to each his own, or her own. Mrs. Rickers wasn't exactly a desirable guest. The cottage she stayed in is pretty secluded, but after dark, voices carry. She had a visitor coming in late, always arguing with him, it seems. I had to go over there and tell him to hold it down a couple of times.
You know who the visitor was?
At first, I thought it was her husband, but a couple of gals here laughed when I mentioned it to him.
What did he look like?
30-ish, dark, guy with a temper. I thought we were going to tangle when I told them they'd have to be quiet.
This the man?
Mm-hmm, that's him.
You're positive?
I saw him at least twice. But the way the gals talked around here, he had to spend a lot of nights at that cottage. Mrs. Rickers' health program, they called him.
You're not only a liar, you're a fool. You're a fool for not telling your attorney about that relationship, and you're a fool for lying to the police.
I was trying to protect her reputation. She was dead. And why give the newspapers a field day?
Let me give you some sound advice. Call your attorney right now and tell him the truth.
Wait, you're still with us, right? Still on the case?
For what purpose? I set out to find out if Ellen Rickers had a gentleman friend who might have been visiting her that day. I sure found him.
But I didn't kill her. When I walked in, she was already dead. Lying on the floor. Yeah, that's right. I was at the house. It was a few minutes after 2, so I guess Kathy Barnes did see me there, but I didn't pound on that door. I used a key, opened it, and walked in. As soon as I saw Ellen, I knew that I couldn't do anything for her, I left. I mean, how could I have explained being at the house, having a key, visiting there at the very time I knew Dr. Rickers was operating?
Are you aware that Kathy Barnes is not only saying that she saw you enter the house, but that she saw Ellen Rickers alive arguing with you?
And that's been driving me crazy, that girl seeing me and Ellen together at the very time I went into the house. The only answer I can find is she imagined she saw Ellen alive.
She saw you, but she hallucinated Ellen Rickers all at the same time?
Mr. Jones, I loved Ellen. I didn't kill her.
You didn't pound on the door?
Why should I? I had a key.
Where is the key?
Threw it out the window while I was driving. I don't even remember where. It was an impulsive act. I wanted nothing to connect me with the Rickers house.
Dr. Melford, how could you make so many mistakes on just one day? That key may have substantiated part of your story.
Total panic. Pure and simple.
How long had the affair been going on?
6 months, maybe. We started meeting at the Rickers summer cottage at Owl Lake, but we felt that was dangerous, and we started meeting at the spa. Or at the Rickers house when we knew he would be in surgery.
Doctor, as an agent for your attorney, I'm privileged. That means that anything you tell me would be held in the strictest confidence. Now, is there anything, but anything, that you're holding back?
Can't think of anything.
I want you to call your attorney right now. Get him over here and tell him everything you told me. I think he'll suggest to you that you revise your story to the police.
Then you're staying on the case.
Doctor, I hope I'm not in for any more surprises. Now, when I let you off, I want you to run a routine check on everybody connected. And Betty, if you have time, talk to some of Kathy's school friends. Let's get a fix on what the younger people think of her.
Her credibility or flights of fancy?
Melford is not a stupid man. He knows that Kathy says that she saw Ellen Rickers inside the house alive talking to him. Now, if that's true, why does he deny it? Why doesn't he just say, yes, he left Ellen in the house, still alive?
Leaving the police with the problem of having to prove that she wasn't killed later on by someone else.
Exactly. Now, if Melford has finished lying, we've got to take a closer look at Kathy's story.
You're right. I'm not dizzy at all.
There's no reason you shouldn't walk about as much as you wish now. Try to get outdoors more.
We can take a drive for a few hours tomorrow if you like.
Oh, great.
Would you bring Kathy by the office tomorrow morning before you drive? I want to run some final tests.
You all right, honey?
Yeah.
When is Mrs. Barnes returning from San Francisco?
She'll be away just for the weekend.
Dr. Rickers.
Oh, Mr. Jones, are you making any headway in the case?
I'm still going around asking people questions. Miss Hollister, I wonder if I might have a few words with Kathy.
She's out back on the patio.
Thank you. Doctor, just about everyone agrees that this case hinges on Kathy's credibility. I wonder if we could have a talk about her medical condition at your convenience.
Well, I'm tied up today. Perhaps you could drop by my office tomorrow morning, say about 10?
Surely. Thank you.
It's hard to see that door from here.
Yeah, but it's the door Dr. Melford used.
Bush kind of hides it. And you could clearly see that it was Ellen Rickers inside the house talking to Dr. Melford.
Oh, sure, you can't miss her blonde hair. And she was wearing a bright red dressing gown.
Getting your sea legs back, huh?
Beyond the slopes come first snow.
Next time, you'll be watching where you're going, won't you? With both eyes.
Swearing off boys. At 40 miles an hour downhill, that is.
Kathy, I want to impress you with the importance of time. Now, you say you knew it was 2 o'clock because you were listening to your radio.
Yeah. No, not my radio. It was being fixed. I had the stereo speaker on.
Was there a time announcement on the program so that you knew it was exactly 2 o'clock?
Some music, and then the announcer saying to stand by for the Edwards show. No time.
And the Edwards show always goes on at 2 o'clock.
Yeah, I always listen. Most everybody does.
So you were listening to the program, and were you wide awake or sort of catnapping?
Well, I did fall asleep, but that was after Edwards started. You know, giving his topic for the day. It was, what was your most embarrassing moment when dating your hubby, or as he put it, you're living for the first time. Sometimes I even call.
You called?
Well, on the topic. Since I've been laid up, I've been calling.
So you listened to the show for a few minutes and then you fell asleep.
I began dozing, and then I saw Dr. Melford and Ellen Rickers arguing.
But you were dozing.
I know what you mean, Mr. Jones. Lieutenant Biddle keeps asking me if I could have been dreaming. I don't think I was. But I don't know, maybe it would have been better if I hadn't said anything that day.
No, you did the right thing, Kathy. Say what you saw or what you think you saw, and leave the rest up to the police.
What held you up?
Stopped off for a bottle of champagne.
Oh? What do we celebrate?
Look at that.
Indicted for murder.
Home free.
I'll be totally satisfied when Melford's sitting in a cell for the rest of his natural life.
That was the most important part, wasn't it? Paying Melford back.
I don't know which one I hate the most. That loudmouth, arrogant, or Ellen flaunting her purse strings.
Hey. Celebration, remember? Cheers, all that.
Or maybe having you is the most important thing.
Now that I'll buy.
Oh, Pete, I can just see you out there. You sound like one of those typical chauvinistic dudes, you know, well, they're so despised by my doll babies, and I think with very good reason, pal. Matter of fact, right now I've got you in sharp focus with my magic billow bleeper there. And I can see you sitting out there hunkered down on your spavined haunches and flea-bitten manner, probably called Crestfallen Plaza. I can see you out there right now with your phone in one hand and plucking pensively at your prehensile asparagus-like toes with the other. I have to kind of defend my doll babies out there, but stay tuned, chums, for 5 minutes of late news, then I'll be back with further acrimonious rebuttal, defending my ladies. Whew. Well, I'm not the neatest person in the world. One of my ex-wives is so fond of nagging me. Add that to the fact, Mrs. Jones, that I have a memory like a neurotic hamster. Oh, here we are. And my life is a constant 24-hour whirl of anxious desperation.
Well, I see you certainly have your share of fan mail.
I was hoping you noticed, my dear. By the way, do you ever listen to my shows?
Almost all the time.
Well, thank you, my dear, for that charitable falsehood. Now, let's see. Wednesday, the 19th, Mr. Jones?
Your afternoon show.
Well, here we are. No delay of program. Could have been a few seconds, no more than that.
How long after your program starts do you usually introduce the topic of the day?
Oh, I would say about 4 or 5 minutes. I announce the topic as soon as possible. Just give my callers time to gather their scattered wits. And incidentally, that was the other woman day. Not quite the juicy, succulent topic I thought it would be.
Then you would say that no longer than 5 minutes after the program starts. The other woman?
Yeah, here it is. Were you ever that other woman in a divorce case?
Well, I was under the impression that the topic of the day on that particular day was what was your most embarrassing moment on your first date with your husband or boyfriend?
No, let's see. That's an oldie. Here we are. By the way, Mr. Jones, you've got me throbbing with curiosity. When this case becomes, well, let's say, unconfidential, I'd love to hear all about it, full details. Here it is, the 26th of last month. Topic, what was your most embarrassing moment while dating your hubby, boyfriend, or live-in the very first time?
The 26th of last month?
All right here. Feel free to make notes. And by the way, I better check on the calls coming in. I'll see you later.
Thank you. Well, if Kathy was confused about the topic of the show, doesn't that make you doubt her whole story?
She reminds me of a little girl I met in a spelling bee once. She was so charming that even when she spelled the words wrong, she had the judge believing her.
All right, look to the left. Now look down. Good. Lights, Miss Hollister, please.
Settle for a B grade, Dr. Rickers?
A B plus with a certain A coming.
Still want to take a drive this morning, or would you rather do a little shopping?
Maybe both. Spend the morning driving, then shop after lunch.
Yes? Yes, we're finished. Send Mr. Jones in. All right, girls, I don't want you to overdo this first day, so limit it to a 2-hour drive, and then straight home, nap time no later than 1.
Doctor?
Morning, Mr. Jones.
Kathy, how are the sea legs?
Oh, much better, Mr. Jones.
Such a nice morning. Let's get started.
Oh, Kathy, I met your Mr. Edwards yesterday.
You did? Hey, what's he like? Does he remember me? I called him twice, you know.
Well, we didn't have much time to talk, but we did discuss the topic of the day that you heard on the patio. Something about your most embarrassing moment.
Yeah, when you dated your husband or boyfriend for the first time.
Only he said that wasn't the topic of the day. He said it was something to do with, were you ever the other woman in a divorce case?
No, I would have remembered that. It was most embarrassing moments.
No, Mr. Jones is right, Kathy. The program was on in the house, too. I remember callers talking about being that other woman in a divorce case.
It's not uncommon. Falling asleep, believing you're hearing that program, but your subconscious picking up words heard at a previous time.
I guess.
I think it's time we got started, Kathy.
Bye, Mr. Jones.
Bye, Kathy.
Thanks, Dr. Rickers.
All right, have a good time, Kathy.
Doctor, if Kathy was totally wrong about what she thought she heard on the radio, couldn't she have been equally wrong about what she saw or thought she saw that day?
Ordinarily, yes, but you can't dream or hallucinate something you've never seen before.
I don't follow you.
That red dressing gown Ellen was wearing, it was a gift from me, presented to her just that morning before I left for the hospital. Now, if Kathy said she saw Ellen in a red robe, a color she's never worn before, it proves that she did indeed see Ellen alive as she looked down to my front door about 2 o'clock that day.
I see.
It didn't occur to me until just this morning, and I immediately called Lieutenant Biddle and told him about the robe.
That does tighten the case against Dr. Melford, doesn't it?
With Melford admitting he came to my house, I think he should also admit that that uncontrollable temper of his took over, and he struck Ellen, causing her death.
Well, if that's true, seems to me Dr. Melford could take the easy way out and plead involuntary manslaughter.
Maybe you should suggest that to him.
I think I'll leave that to his lawyer.
Very quiet, Kathy.
Thinking about Mr. Jones. Something he said about the time of day being so important.
And?
Well, I didn't think about it too much before, but that day was kind of jumbled up for me. For instance, do you remember when you woke me up for lunch and I wasn't hungry, as though it was too soon after breakfast?
Oh, having a lesser appetite isn't unusual.
But when you wheeled me out to the patio, it was 2 o'clock, and I woke up at 2:30. That's only a half-hour sleep. I mean, on other days after taking my medicine, I'd feel groggy if I didn't sleep at least an hour.
You're regaining your full strength now. You need less sleep.
But you see, time again. I'm getting worried about being so positive of things that day. I mean, if things seem mixed up to me now, thinking back, maybe I was dreaming I saw Mrs. Rickers alive talking to Dr. Melford.
I'm sure you weren't dreaming. We'll make a stop ahead. I have to call Dr. Rickers, something I forgot to tell him this morning.
Yes? Yes, Marion.
It's not that she's suspicious, but if she talks to Jones like that, how long would it be before he puts it together?
How far are you from the lake cottage?
Oh, about 30 minutes, I think.
All right, I'll meet you there. Kathy and her mother have both been guests before, so she won't think it unusual my suggesting you spend a day at the lake. Listen, tell her I decided to take the day off. I thought it might be fun to do a little trout fishing together again.
This is an identical portable to the one Miss Barnes has. A simple repair. Resistor in the primary circuit had worked itself loose.
Would you say it's unusual for a defect to show up in that way?
Yes and no. What was unusual, I found the warranty seal broken when I opened it up. Strange, because I delivered it to the house just about a week ago. It was new, in perfect working order.
Who brought it in for repair?
I don't know her name. A nurse. She brought it in and picked it up.
That stereo system that Mrs. Barnes has in her house, did you install that?
Oh, yes. I know the family well. I've been doing business with them for years. Look here. This is the model they bought just about a year ago. It's very fine equipment.
Plays cassette tapes.
Records and plays back.
So the tapes could be heard through every speaker in the house, including the one on the patio.
Right.
Mind-boggling.
Oh, it's a common system today. The cassette feeds through the receiver and out to the speakers.
I was thinking of something else, Mr. Sue.
And the next company Rickers formed went broke just last year. You know, I sensed from the broker that Mrs. Rickers was tired of bailing her husband out from all these flyers he's been taking.
And what have we got? A ne'er-do-well and a wealthy woman.
Motive is there.
Add on to that the sudden failure of Kathy's radio, then Nurse Hollister's convenient correcting of Kathy on the talk show topic.
And Kathy confined to intensive care on the 26th, the day of the embarrassing moment topic. And the hospital says they do not have radios in intensive care.
Well, if she didn't hear it, that proves she wasn't dreaming. But only Kathy can tell us if she heard a radio that day.
Barnaby, you said she'd be home by 1. It's almost 1:30.
Let's make a phone call.
No, I couldn't say where she is.
Well, I'm just an old friend of Marion's. She told me to give her a buzz if I ever happen in town.
I wish I could be more of a help. She did phone in a while back to talk to Dr. Rickers, but I have no idea where she was calling from.
Well, do you think Dr. Rickers might have some idea?
The doctor's out. He canceled all his appointments and left the office right after he talked to Nurse Hollister.
Well, I do thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I heard. Now, what kind of a phone call would cause Dr. Rickers to cancel all his appointments and rush out?
So any of you hauntingly lovely women who might have any piercing, penetrating idea on what's the dirtiest trick your man ever played on you, you just tell me, your secret admirer, all about it, my dear. Hey, chums, remember that dear little youngster who called in, Kathy? What she did was fracture her tiny feminine flipper up on the ski slopes about 2 weeks back. Well, I want to hear from Kathy today, but perhaps this youngster abides by Billow's stern law that you have to wait 10 days. Well, I'm going to set aside that 10-day law right now which of course has been cast in bronze for permanent remembrance. So Kathy Plum, if you're listening today to Bill, your chum, you give me a call. Tell us all how you're getting along. So you call in, Kathy. We'll be waiting for you right now. Mr. Jones, maybe I could be of more help to you if I knew myself what was going on.
Trust me that I don't want to trigger somebody who may be with Kathy into doing something desperate. And trust me that I'll fill you in on the whole story sometime when you're my guest at the steakhouse of your choice.
With this lovely lady adorning tableside, I hope.
Fighting off your fan club.
What a spiffy daughter-in-law you have, Mr. Jones. May I suggest that you maintain a close, vigilant watch?
Do you think she'll call?
Better question. Will she be able to?
I don't see how we can prevent Jones from talking to her.
We can't. Our answer is to stop Kathy from questioning the time that day. To prove to her that time and events become distorted while under medication.
I think the more we talk to her about that
I
day...
have to talk to her. I'll examine her arm when she wakes up, be dissatisfied with the healing, and put her on a drug program. Yeah, she'll be mildly hallucinating even before she goes to sleep tonight.
But that means her credibility will really be questioned. Wouldn't Melford go free?
Highly doubtful. As I told Jones, no one can imagine something they've never seen before. That little touch of mine. Buying Ellen that red robe.
Well, enough of that jousting. All right, now, we're going to wait for my next caller. And, you know, I still haven't heard from my skiing chum who broke that lovely arm of hers, fending off the panting hordes, admiring her triangular slalom up there on the ski slopes. Where are you, Kathy Plum? This is Billo, breaking my 10-day rule to hear your dulcet tones telling my 40 million listeners how you're coming along. Well, listen, by the way, you know, I'm going to remind those 80 million listeners right now to tell me this afternoon what's the dirtiest trick that your man ever played on you. Okay, I think I've got a live one here. Stand by. Here we go. My next caller with a well-justified beef on her nimble brain calls herself.
Hi, Bill. This is Kathy.
Kathy, my dear girl, are you cheating on your chum, Bill? I mean, here it is 15 minutes into the show, and I thought sure you'd be my very first caller.
I tuned in late. I'm sorry. I just heard you say I could call.
I'll give you this time, sweetheart. By the way, I'm now switching on my magic viewer. Aha. You're going to have to clamber down off the lap of that ski bum, honey. Dude who picked you up this afternoon up there, and act with a little more demure decorum, if you will, okay?
Oh, I'm nowhere near skiing country. My arm is still in a cast.
Well, are you getting plenty of exercise otherwise, sweetheart? What are you doing today to keep that lullaby bod of yours in shape?
Well, some fishing after I take my nap. Not much else.
Fishing? You don't mean to tell Billo that you're out on somebody's swank yacht, perhaps calling ship to shore, do you?
No, this is lake fishing from a swank rowboat.
Well, Kathy Plum, we're going to have a hasty station break here. We'll be right back. How far do you want me to go?
Keep her talking, but don't press her for a location. Fishing on a lake. It has to be the Rickers summer cottage.
It's on Cove Road, last cottage. It's right on the lake.
That's 20 minutes from here. If you don't hear from me in 30 minutes, call Lieutenant Biddle.
Right.
Okay, Kathy, let's talk a little more about that fishing business.
No, really, I've always been a fishing bug, especially for lake trout. Well, when my dad was alive, we used to go
Who are you talking to?
the radio station, the talk show.
Who gave you permission to do that?
What?
You were told to go to bed. What's that talk about a lake? Well, there I go again. Yelling at my patients for disobeying orders. It's a habit I've been trying to break myself of for ages. Forgive me, Kathy. But I do insist upon that nap. Here's a little something that will get you to sleep. Here. This will make you sleep for an hour or so. And then it's off to see if we dine on fresh trout tonight.
Wash it down, honey.
I think I'll also have a little snooze in the sun, something I haven't done for years.
You comfortable?
She'll be asleep in 2 minutes. She won't feel this.
What effect will it have on her?
She'll be docile. More dependent on you. She'll question her judgment. It'll be weeks before her self-confidence returns. By then, Jones will be long out of the picture.
Kathy? Kathy?
Where's Kathy? Where is she?
She and Dr. Rickers took a walk. Probably on the other side of the lake by now.
Miss Hollister, I believe it'll all soon be proved that Kathy was drugged to the point she could no longer keep track of time. That you induced her to believe it was 2 o'clock that day when it was much earlier. And that it was just play acting that you and Dr. Rickers performed down at his place for her benefit.
I don't know what you're talking about.
How long do you suppose it'll be before the police trace where that identical sports coat was bought or where that blonde wig was bought? It's over, Miss Hollister. You can only make it worse.
She ran away from us into the woods. Dr. Rickers went looking for her. Mr. Jones? He's carrying a gun.
Kathy? Come on now. Kathy? Are you imagining things again? You've been ill, Kathy. Much more so than you've been told. Nurse Hollister and I are trying to help you. Kathy, why do you think we'd want to hurt you?
I don't know.
Now, let's go down by the lake and just have a nice, quiet talk, huh?
No, please.
Come on, down by the lake, just for talking.
No,
Come
no,
on.
please, please don't.
Rickard! You all right?
Okay, let's go.
Barnaby Jones, a Quinn Martin production, starring Buddy Ebsen. Also starring Lee Merriweather, with guest stars Claudette Nevins, Ina Balin, Roger Perry, Michael LeClaire, Paul Carr. Tonight's episode, Beware the Dog.
I don't know if we're gonna make it out of this one, Buck. Been out of food for 3 days. The temperature must be 50 below zero. Oh, the wolves. I can almost feel their eyes watching us, just waiting for a chance to get us. Well, we've only got one chance, boy. We're gonna have to fight our way out.
Colin! Colin!
Yes, Mom?
It's time to go.
Be right there. Okay, now you know what to do, because we gotta go. Okay, come on.
Oh, yes, okay, down, Buck. I bet you put him up to that, huh?
Mom, can't we take him with us?
I said no.
Why not?
Because your father said so.
Not my father. Come on, Buck. Come on now, you stay here and be a good boy, okay? Oh, you know it's gotta be this way. He's making it be this way. Okay, now I'll see you later.
Laura? Colin?
Mary's be home late. Please feed the dog.
Just about sums it all up.
Come on, you stupid mutt. Aren't you going to eat it? Yeah, I love you, too. That is, if you want it. Did you hear something?
Yes?
I'm Barnaby Jones. Would you be Mrs. Beecher?
No. I'm afraid Laura isn't here right now. Did you have an appointment with her?
Yes, I think I did. My secretary called yesterday. I may be a little early.
Well, if Laura had an appointment with you, I'm sure she'll be here. Why don't you come on in, Mr. Jones?
Thank you.
You can wait in here if you like.
Thank you.
I was a law partner of Mr. Beecher's. I just stopped by to pick up some papers he was working on at the time of his death.
Oh, you must be Claudia Elwood.
Yes, how did you know?
I represent California Meridian Insurance. Mr. Beecher carried a couple of rather large life insurance policies. One of them named your law firm as a beneficiary. I have an appointment to meet with your Mr. Carson later this afternoon.
Then you're an investigator.
Yes, because of the size of the policies, my company thought I ought to make a few inquiries into Mr. Beecher's accident.
Then you'd probably like to see where it happened.
Yes, I would, but I don't want to take you away from your work.
Oh. Believe me, Mr. Jones, if you're really going to investigate this accident, we're both working for exactly the same thing. According to the police report, Mr. Beecher came home, prepared a dish of food for the dog, and then brought it out here.
Yes, I saw the police report. They listed the attack as accidental. But you give me the impression that you think it was something more than that.
Well, Mr. Jones, all I can tell you is that that dog was very well trained by Laura's first husband. Now, Laura's got a special way with that dog. And everyone knows Laura's the kind of woman who gets what she goes after.
What are you telling him?
Only the truth, Laura. That Joe's death has left you a very wealthy woman. Something you wouldn't have been after the divorce.
Get out of my house.
Oh, with pleasure. Mr. Jones, good watchdogs don't attack unless they're ordered to.
You're the man hired by the insurance company?
Yes, ma'am. Barnaby Jones.
I'm George Roswell. Laura's first husband, Ed, and I were in the Air Force together.
Nice to meet you.
I don't know what Claudia was telling you. Joseph and I did have problems in our marriage, but we were working them out. There was no talk of divorce.
Well, an old preacher friend of mine used to say, a good marriage is kind of like picking huckleberries in the summertime. Well, the good ones seem to be surrounded by the sharpest thorns.
What can we do for you, Mr. Jones?
There was a double indemnity accidental death clause in Mr. Beecher's life insurance policy.
That's fairly standard, isn't it?
Yes, but the question here is a technical one. Just how much and what kind of training did the dog have?
I don't think I follow you.
Well, it all boils down to this. Was Buck ever given any formal attack training?
If he had been, then the insurance company won't want to pay off on the double indemnity clause, right?
Right.
Colin's father trained Buck to protect us. I don't think he trained him to be a killer. But where you draw the line, Mr. Jones, is up to you and your company.
Did the dog have any history of biting people?
No. Never. Now, if there are no more questions?
I had hoped to talk to your son, Mrs. Beecher.
Colin hasn't been seen since breakfast. But I suspect you can find him where we found him for the last 3 days. At the pound where they're holding Buck.
Colin?
Yeah?
My name's Barnaby Jones. Hi there, fella.
Did you come here looking for me?
For you and Buck. Yeah, I was hired to check into your stepfather's accident.
Oh, no, you're not gonna kill my dog. I'm not gonna let anybody kill my dog.
Oh, now. What happens to Buck is in somebody else's hands.
Oh, Buck wouldn't hurt anybody, not unless he had a good reason.
You think maybe your stepfather had been mistreating him?
He must have. Buck's the only friend I got.
Colin, your mother's on the phone. She wants to speak to you.
Go ahead, son. Buck will still be here when you get back.
I don't know how I'm going to tell the boy. The order came down about an hour ago.
Destroy him?
Noon tomorrow. Want to see something, Mr. Jones? Come on, Buck. Heel. Buck, stay. Buck, come. Stay. Buck, light on. You think that's something? You ought to see him with Cullen. For 3 years now running, he and Buck have won the best obedience trained dog trophy. Come here, boy.
You know, I realize there's a big difference between obedience training and attack training, but could you take a friendly dog like this and retrain him into a killer?
Well, normally, I wouldn't think so. But when a dog's as smart as Buck, you could probably teach him anything.
Dan, I know Joe is working on a new will. All I want is a chance to find it.
You are a single-minded woman, aren't you?
Dan, if you'll just unseal Joe's files, I know it's in there someplace.
Oh, Mr. Carson, there's a Mr. Jones waiting for you.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
I'm Dan Carson. Sorry to have kept you waiting. We got held up in Judge's chambers.
That's perfectly all right.
I understand you've already met Miss Selwood.
Under less than pleasant circumstances, I'm afraid.
Claudia told me it wasn't a very pretty scene.
Well, I was puzzled when we got around to discussing divorce.
Laura denied all knowledge of it, of course.
I'm curious, why do you say of course?
Because, Mr. Jones, for Laura to admit that Joe was planning a divorce, or that he was in the process of changing his will, cutting both her and the boy out, would be to admit that she had a very good motive for murdering him.
Claudia.
Dan, I plan to prove everything I've just said.
You'll have to excuse her. She started working here about 6 years ago as a secretary. Joe Beecher took her under his wing and encouraged her to go to law school at night, helped her through the bar exam.
Then you don't share her suspicions of Mrs. Beecher?
Let's just say that she took Joe's death pretty hard. However, you were interested in the partnership papers with Mr. Beecher? Had a copy made. Think you'll find it in order.
Thank you. You understand the company's interest?
$1 million corporate life insurance payoff? I think I'd want a thorough investigation, too.
What are you doing here?
I needed some of Joe's legal papers. I didn't want to disturb you.
You didn't want to disturb me, huh? You break into my house like a common thief? I ought to call the police and have them lock you up.
Oh, go right ahead. Call them. I'll tell them what I was really looking for. And maybe when they know, they'll be interested enough to look for themselves.
And what's that supposed to mean?
You know perfectly well. The proof that you had a very good reason to murder Joe.
Oh, Claudia, that's a laugh, isn't it? If anyone had a reason to murder Joe, I'd say it was probably you. You wouldn't be the first office trollop whose married lover boy was stringing her along with promises he never intended to keep.
You're forgetting one thing, Laura. It was your dog that killed Joe. Your dog. And who else but you would know how to set him on someone to kill them?
Mrs. Wiley?
Yes?
I'm Barnaby Jones. I was hired to look into Mr. Beecher's death.
Oh, well, what can I do for you?
According to Mrs. Beecher's statement, she and her son Colin had dinner with you here the night Mr. Beecher was killed.
That's right. They got here about 6:15, just about the time my husband was coming home from dinner, and they left sometime after 10.
You were good friends with the Beechers.
Oh, yeah, we were neighbors for over 7 years until Laura remarried last year and moved away. Our boys practically grew up together.
Mom? Can I go swimming over at Richie's house?
Jimmy, this is Mr. Jones. He's investigating Mr. Beecher's death.
Howdy.
Hi.
I'll bet you and Colin and Buck were terrific friends.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember if Buck ever showed any sign of being vicious? You know, biting and snapping at people?
No, sir. Buck never bit anyone.
It is a puzzle. A friendly dog suddenly turning mean. The other day, when Colin was over here for dinner, did he say anything then about Buck suddenly turning vicious?
No, sir. Colin didn't say anything to anyone that night. He was really mad about something. As soon as his mother left, he took off. Didn't even stay for dinner.
He didn't stay for dinner.
Go have your swim, son, and be home early.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
We have a point of contradiction.
You've got to understand, Mr. Jones. Laura married Joe because she thought it would be a stabilizing force for Colin, but Colin wouldn't accept him as a stepfather, and because of it, Laura and Joe had terrible fights.
What time did she leave?
A little after 7.
And Colin?
A few minutes later, but Laura didn't have anything to do with Joe's death. You've got to believe that.
Well, it isn't just me that's got to believe it. The police also.
Dear.
There's just one more question I have, Mrs. Wiley. Whatever happened to Mrs. Beecher's first husband?
Ed? Oh, he drowned. It was a real shame, too. He'd finally gotten that big break he'd waited for all his life. You know, the big job out of the country. They were going to be moving in a few weeks, but Colin was real upset because they wouldn't let him take Buck with him, so Ed took him on a fishing trip, you know, to try and cheer him up. And
What happened?
the boat overturned. And they say it was a real miracle that Colin and the dog got out of it alive.
Oh, hey. Don't worry, boy.
here soon? Yeah. Won't be long now.
Come on, Mike.
Come in. We've been expecting you.
I thought you might be.
I just got off the phone with Mary Wiley, Mr. Jones. I thought I told you once before that I felt my marriage and whatever problems it may or may not have had were none of yours or anybody else's business.
Well, ordinarily, I'd agree with you, ma'am, but right now, I'm trying to determine a fundamental issue in the death of your husband.
Whether Buck had formal attack training or not. Well, frankly, Mr. Jones, I do not care. And since it's so important to you and your company, why don't you just forget the double indemnity clause?
Well, that's very generous of you, ma'am, but that's not the issue I'm concerned with. The thing that bothers me is whether your husband's death was really accidental or murder.
Murder? But they have the dog.
Yes, I know that, Mr. Roswell, but I just can't believe that Buck would turn that suddenly unless he had reason to or somebody triggered him.
But the police report listed Joe's death as an accident.
That same report puts you and your son at the Wiley place at the time.
What do you want from me, Mr. Jones?
Well, let's start with the truth.
All right. I was with George that night. Okay? It's out in the open now.
We didn't start out to hide anything. After Joe was dead, and Claudia Elwood was making her wild charges, we thought it was best to leave things as they were, letting everybody believe that Laura was at Mary's.
I don't suppose there's anyone who could verify where you two were at the time of the attack.
No. I'm afraid we were quite alone.
We're looking for Colin. Is he here?
No, what's happened?
I'm afraid he broke into the shelter and took Buck.
Colin and Buck used to roam those hills by the hours. I don't know where else they could possibly be.
Thank you.
Miss Beecher, the night your husband was killed, have you any idea where Colin went to after he left the Wileys?
Well, he said he walked home through the shopping area, stopped to watch a baseball game in a store window, and... Oh, surely you don't think that...
Mr. Jones, your daughter-in-law is on the phone.
Thank you. Hello?
Barnaby, I just had a meeting with my friend at the office building where Joe Beecher worked.
I hope you two had a nice class reunion.
We certainly did. And she says the word is that Joe Beecher and Claudia Elwood were having a hot and heavy romance, but that Mrs. Beecher was putting on the pressure.
With any results?
Husband Joe was beginning to toe the line, much to the displeasure of Miss Elwood.
Good work, Betty. Now, I want you to check out a George Roswell, R-O-S-W-E-L-L. He's local. Check the Air Force for background.
All right. But Barnaby, wait, there's more. In checking on Miss Elwood's hometown up in Idaho, I found that her father was a veterinarian up there. He also had a business on the side. A kennel for breeding and training of guard and attack dogs. Interesting?
Don't you know it's past 6 o'clock?
Dad, I'm going to find that will if I have to go through every piece of paper in this office.
Well, if that's what it's going to take to get us back to normal, I wish you Godspeed.
Thanks. Good night. I'll see you in the morning.
Good night. Well, Mr. Jones, coming to pay off our insurance claim?
Well, no, there are still a few details to be worked out. I came over to see Miss Elwood.
Oh, she's over there in Joe Beecher's old office.
Thank you.
Yes?
Miss Elwood?
Oh, Mr. Jones. Is there something I can do for you?
Well, yes. My daughter-in-law, Betty, had a very interesting reunion with an old college friend today.
Well, that's very nice, I'm sure.
So happens that the friend works here in this building, and she seemed to know a great deal about you and the late Mr. Beecher.
We were in love. Is that what you're leading up to?
According to the friend, the romance seemed to have died down, mostly on his part.
It's a damn lie. I loved Joe, and he loved me. I knew it, and he knew it, and Laura knew it. And that's why she used that dog to kill him.
That's a very strong accusation.
And it's going to be even stronger when I find that new will Joe was working on. And prove that Laura knew he was going to divorce her.
Well, when you find it, I wouldn't mind reading that document myself.
Mr. Jones, in that case, I'll put you at the top of my list. You'll be the first person I call when I find it.
That's right friendly of you, Miss Elwood. I guess I better go now and let you continue with your work. Oh, that's a very interesting theory of yours, that somebody used a dog for a murder weapon. In order for somebody to kill Mr. Beecher that way, they would have had to have some skills in dog handling and training.
Yes, I suppose they would.
You know, come to think of it, Miss Elwood, with your background, your father's kennels and all, that description could even fit you. Betty! What are you still doing here?
Now you show up. I've just spent the last 20 minutes transcribing my notes from shorthand so that you could read them. Is there any news on Colin and Buck?
No, nothing on either one of them. Police have a helicopter with a searchlight on it combing the hills back of the house. It's pretty cold up there at night.
Oh, those are your calls, and also some preliminary information on George Roswell. It seems that he was indeed a very close family friend. In fact, many of their friends were very surprised when Laura decided to marry Beecher last year instead of Roswell.
Any guesses on the reason for the switch?
Best I could do was, as with Scarlett O'Hara, Laura had had her fill of poverty. Beecher had plenty of money, and George Roswell is a struggling architect.
Claudia Elwood called.
About 20 minutes ago.
See if you can get her on the phone.
Oh, by the way, a couple of months ago, George Roswell approached Beecher to help finance a large housing project he had planned. And despite pressure from Laura, Beecher turned him down. There doesn't seem to be any answer, Barnaby. I imagine she's gone home.
Make a note, call her first thing in the morning. And I want to dig a little deeper into the financial situation of George Roswell. And while you're at it, do the same thing for Dan Carson.
Beecher's partner?
I'd like to know just how great a need he has for the $1 million in insurance he's about to collect.
mercy! Colin! Colin!
All right. How did you know?
I take it you've had your chat with the coroner?
I just left him. He finished re-examining Miss Elwood's body, and he found just what you said he might. Scratch marks that might have come from a dog. Now, how did you know?
Over this way, Lieutenant.
My men are getting sloppy.
Not necessarily. They weren't looking for dog tracks, and I was. From the size of the track, I would imagine it was a pretty big dog, possibly a German Shepherd.
Looks like I owe you for this one. When do I pay the bill? Now or later?
Right now would be very nice, Lieutenant. If I wouldn't get in the way of your forensic experts, I'd like to take off a set of prints for myself.
Take what you want. Just leave a couple of good ones for my team of forensic experts, all right?
I got my equipment.
Lieutenant?
Yeah?
Excuse me, Lieutenant. I just had a talk with the parking attendant who was on duty last night. He was on the ground floor when he heard Miss Elwood. He says that she kept screaming one word over and over.
Which was?
Well, that's what doesn't make any sense. You see, he said she kept screaming, calling, 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 but who could she be calling?
Calling? Or Colin?
Hi, Jimmy.
I'm not supposed to talk to you.
Well, I guess I can understand how you feel, and believe me, Jimmy, I wouldn't be here if it weren't important. Now, you're a friend of Colin's. Do you know where he and Buck are hiding?
I don't know where they are. I already told the police that.
You sure? Might be someplace where the three of you used to play when he lived next door.
No, I told you I don't know where they are.
Well, it's just that I'm so worried about Buck.
No, you're not. You're just like all the rest. You just want to see him put to sleep.
Well, the sad part of it is, they may not have to destroy him anymore. If they don't get to him soon, it'll be too late anyway. He'll be dead.
What do you mean he'll be dead?
When he was in that animal shelter, they gave him some medicine. It was a wrong prescription. If he doesn't get the antidote soon, it'll be too late. Well, sorry to bother you.
Pork and beans. Guess it ain't the best breakfast in the world, but it's all we got, boy. Colin, you gotta get Buck to a vet real soon. What are you talking about? That Mr. Jones came by. He said that they gave Buck some medicine while he was at the pound. And if he doesn't get some more, he's gonna die. Are you sure?
No, he's not sure. Sorry to trick you, son, But that's the only way I could get you to lead me to your friends.
Come on,
Colin? I understand you're going on 13 now, son. Back where I come from, the boy gets that age, we kind of expect him to act like a man every now and then. You can't run away from this trouble. You better stay and face it like a man.
No, I'm not gonna let him kill my dog. He didn't kill my stepfather. He didn't.
You know, the funny thing is, I don't think he did either. But we can't prove anything just by wanting to. We need evidence. And I think between all of us, we might be able to prove that we're right.
Well, how?
Jimmy, in the back of my car, there's some testing equipment. Bring it down here.
How?
Yes, sir. I think between the two of us, we can work this out. There we go. 4 for 4 and not a match. What's this? A little cut there?
Oh, I guess maybe he got that when I cut him out of his cage.
Doesn't seem to match any of the other prints. Well, this proves that Buck wasn't the dog in the garage last night.
But they'll still want him for killing my stepfather.
I don't think so, son. I think when we show these prints to the police, they'll realize that it would be pretty coincidental for 2 identical killer dogs to be roving the city at the same time. You know what? I think it's time for you and Buck to go home. And I think your mother will be glad to see you.
Oh, Colin, you had me so worried.
I'm sorry, Mom, but I had to do it. I couldn't let him kill Buck.
Oh, no.
Colin, I'm afraid the authorities are still going to want him.
No, not now. Mr. Jones says he can prove that it wasn't Buck.
Are you trying to tell me that Buck didn't kill my husband?
We could make a very strong case for that.
That's ridiculous. That would mean that there was another dog in the backyard that night.
That's the way it seems to lay out, Mr. Roswell.
But Joe didn't like dogs. Well, he was afraid of them. He wouldn't have gone out in the backyard for any other dog but Buck.
That may be, but he may have gone out there to feed a dog he thought was Buck. May I use your telephone? I think Lieutenant Biddle ought to know that Colin and Buck are home.
You can use the one in the den if you like.
Thank you.
George, you're not going, are you?
I can't stay. Look, Colin is back. There are things that I have to take care of.
But
Barnaby, I have been trying for over an hour to reach you.
Sorry, Betty, I was visiting a friend over at Veterans Administration. What do you got?
Well, the financial information you wanted. George Roswell was in deep trouble. The housing project that he wanted Beecher to fund apparently had been his last hope to avoid bankruptcy.
Had been.
Well, it was announced yesterday. The housing project is going ahead as scheduled. Laura Beecher has agreed to underwrite it.
What about Dan Carson?
Oh, well, the opposite end of the financial scale altogether. Besides the law practice, at which he does very well, he's the head of a large land development company. No, the only thing $1 million insurance payoff will do for him is maybe give him, a few banking problems.
See if you can get Dan Carson on the phone.
All right. What were you doing over at the Veterans Administration office?
I was trying to follow through on that picture I saw in the Beecher study. I wanted to find out what George Roswell and Colin's father did when they were in the service.
Did you?
I had to call the Military Personnel Records Bureau. They were both air police assigned to SAC Bay Security.
Yes, Barnaby Jones for Mr. Carson. Is he in, please?
Part of the jobs were training and handling German Shepherds for patrol dogs.
Oh, yes, Mr. Carson. Just one moment, please.
Carson? Yes, what can I do for you, Mr. Jones?
Well, I was wondering whether we could come over to your office for a little while.
Well, I can't promise to be here. I'm still in a bit of shock. First Joe and then Claudia. I have commitments to meet, court appearances.
I can certainly understand your problems, Mr. Carson. And actually, we don't need your physical presence. It's just that before Miss Elwood died, she became convinced that the reason for Joe Beecher's death was in his file. And what I'm asking for is permission for us to go through the file.
Well, if you think it'd do any good, I'll tell my secretary to expect you.
Well, thank you. We should be there within a half hour.
We should be there?
Well, you are the one with the office expertise, aren't you?
And you think whatever I'll be looking for in Beecher's office was probably misfiled, huh?
Either that, or Joe Beecher felt the need to deliberately hide it.
Where will you be?
Dog kennels?
Dog kennel that raises and trains German Shepherds for security work.
All right, come on, jump. Get it. Get it. Attaboy. Come on. Come on, get it.
Yeah, I used to raise hounds down home. Best hunting dogs in the Ozarks. Moved to California to be near our growed-up kids and found out nobody here got time to go hunting. Seems like all they do is try to hang on to what they already got. So we started raising these animals. Now, even with that pad, if Ray didn't know just how to move, that dog would tear him to pieces. Oh, thank you, Billy. Don't know if you'll find what you're looking for in here, Mr. Jones, but that's everybody that bought dogs from us in the last 6 months.
Well, I've checked out the other 3 kennels in this area that train security dogs. And if I don't find what I'm looking for here, it may be that I just made a wrong guess.
Well, what's the verdict? You find a name that strikes your fancy?
I think maybe so.
Who are you?
I'm Betty Jones, Barnaby Jones's daughter-in-law. You must be Mr. Carson.
That's right. I was just on my way to court. I thought I'd stop by and say hello to your father-in-law. Is he here?
Well, I'm afraid that I draw all the paperwork in the family. He's out checking dog kennels.
Well, just tell him I said hello.
I'll do that, Mr. Carson.
Thank you.
You look enough like Buck to be his twin brother.
think it's time we let people know about you.
Carson, call off your dog. Don't make me shoot him. Now, Carson!
You Mr. Jones?
Yes. This is Mr. Carson, the man you want.
Your daughter-in-law's the one who called us. She said you might need some help out here.
That girl's timing is getting better with each passing day. Dan Carson's land development investment group was a swindle. Your husband found out about it, amassed some powerful evidence, and was blackmailing him.
But why did Dan kill Claudia?
Beecher hid the evidence in an envelope and taped it to the bottom of a filing drawer. Carson looked for it but never found it,
And when Claudia started looking for papers indicating a new will,
which incidentally never existed.
Carson was afraid that she'd find the blackmail evidence, which would, of course, point to him as Mr. Beecher's murderer.
After Carson killed Claudia, he looked for the evidence again. Satisfied that it wasn't in the drawer, he allowed us to look.
Us?
A figure of speech, Betty, purely. Now, I think that we ought to get out of here and let these folks get on with plans for their housing project.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Jones, I just wanted to thank you. I mean, I guess there was even a little while there when I thought Buck was a killer. But you always believed in him.
That's true, Barnaby, from the very beginning. How did you know that Buck wasn't the killer?
That was the easiest part of the case, Betty. Buck told me. Didn't you, boy?
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Barnaby Jones, a Quinn Martin production, starring Buddy Ebsen. Also starring Lee Merriweather, with guest stars Alan Case, Mitzi Hoag, Trish Stewart, special guest star Eileen Brennan. Tonight's episode, Blood Relations.
She didn't leave. Where is she?
She's still over there in the park. Now, Kelly, wait. Now, come on, honey, slow down. But come on, what were you going to do? Just walk up to her and say, hi, Mom. I'm the baby you gave up for adoption 20 years ago.
It's just that I've been so nervous about meeting her, I guess I just wanted to get it over with before I lost my nerve.
Sure, I understand that. But I haven't talked to the lady yet. I'm not even positive she's the right one. And even if she is, I still think it's best if I go over and speak to her alone first.
To make sure she wants to see me.
Now, Kelly, my way, please.
Okay.
I'll try not to be too long.
Somebody go call an ambulance, please.
Well, I'll do my best to pick up where Marvin Cage left off, but I sure wish he were here to finish up.
After it happened, I gave some thought to forgetting the whole thing. But then his wife, his widow, phoned and gave me your name.
Just what was it that Marv was looking into for you, Miss Anderson?
He was trying to find someone for me. My mother.
Your mother? I remember reading somewhere that your mother and father were killed in an air crash.
They weren't my real parents. I'm adopted.
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Neither did I, until their lawyer gave me a letter that they had left with their will.
It must have been a shock.
Anyway, they sent the letter that they didn't know who my real father was, but they had this with my mother's name on it.
Mother's name, Mary Renee Wilson. This is a photocopy. Do you have the original?
No. I'd like to believe that my real mother kept the original herself. You know, to remember the baby that she had to give up.
That's logical. I can believe that's the way it happened.
According to this, my mother was young, only 17 when I was born. It's strange. I wasn't surprised to find out that I'd been adopted. I think I suspected it from when I was a little girl. Not that my adopted mother and father didn't do everything to make me feel like their own child. They did. Will you let me know how it's going, Mr. Jones?
The instant I get any information, I will give you a call. But I can't help wondering, 20 years, are you sure you want to stir around in the past after all this time?
No, I'm not sure I want to. But I feel as though I have to.
Took me all night to get rid of the car and get your ride back into town. Any more beer in the house?
No, it's the last one. There was an item in the morning paper about that detective. Did you have to kill him?
He was about to deliver the girl right into your sister's lap.
He got that close?
I told you gave him too much when you talked with him.
That was before we had this idea. Man comes to the door. He's trying to locate my sister Mary. I didn't know what it was all about then.
Well, it never would have worked with that detective walking around anyway. Now nobody will ever know he came here first. And as far as the girl is concerned, she still doesn't know what her mother looks like. Did you call Mary yet? Come on, Anita. Mary's your part of the deal.
Oh, I told you we haven't spoken to each other for 8 years.
I don't care if it's been 80. I found out that little girl just inherited a few $1 million, and she's looking for a mother.
All right, all right. I'll call her just as soon as I finish the wash.
No, I've got a better idea. I'll go get cleaned up, and then you and I'll go see her, face to face.
Here's the stuff Marv Gates had on him when he was hit. One wallet, one pocket notebook, assorted keys, small change.
You check on that other matter?
Oh, yeah, there's no police record on a Mary Renee Wilson. Computer came up empty. Did I miss something in Marv's casebook?
That seems to be just a bunch of figures. Mean anything to you?
No, just mileage and expenses, about all I could figure.
Well, maybe Emily Cates can make some sense out of it. Could I have copies of the last few pages?
Sure, if you want.
You check on the hit and run?
Yeah, just that it was a 72, 73 black four-door sedan. Nobody got a make or a license. You can pick up copies of this at the duty desk in about 10 minutes.
I'll pick it all up then.
Okay.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Yeah. Well?
And I know I'm gonna blow it. She'll tell me to get lost. I'll tell her to go to hell.
Okay. Okay. I was a pretty fair used car salesman. Let's see if I can sell a used sister.
Yes?
Mary? Mary Wilson?
Yes. Who are you?
Grant's the name. Grant Brockman. I'm a friend of Anita's. Your sister, Anita?
I know who you mean. What about Anita?
Look, Miss Wilson, Mary, I know you and Anita have had your differences over the years.
That's putting it mildly.
But what you may not know is how much Anita blames herself for the trouble between you. And she wants more than anything else to make up with you. Fact is, she's right there, in the car.
Anita's come here to make up?
She was afraid to come to the door with me. She lost her nerve at the last minute.
Mr. Brockman, how come you're so interested in Anita and me making up?
Well, that's easy. I want to marry the girl. But she's got this cloud hanging over her because of her problems with you. Mary, she made it that far. And it took a lot of effort for her to do it, too. Now, how about you? Can't you find enough forgiveness to meet her halfway?
You're looking good, Mary.
You too, Anita.
You know, I can't think of a darn thing to say.
Look, it's silly standing outside. Would you and Mr. Brockman like to come in for a while?
Sure. I mean, why not?
Honestly, some of this stuff's been in Marv's desk since before I met him. You think he'd throw something away once in a while. You know, I don't know what to do about the Anderson case. Marv had been working on that for almost 10 days, and...
Oh, I've already taken care of that. I called Kelly Anderson and told her to send the entire investigation fee to you. No argument. That's the way we do in this business. One man takes over another man's job, we have a gentleman's agreement. Marv must have done it a dozen times.
I don't believe that one bit, Barnaby.
Scott's honor.
All right. I won't pretend I can't use the money. Thank you.
Now, when I picked up Marv's personal effects from police headquarters, I took the liberty of having several pages of his casebook copied. Now, it didn't make too much sense to me, but you take a look at it. Anything in there that applies to the Anderson case?
No, just expense items. Hours, mileage on his car. I'm sorry.
What about these letters? E.D. Could be initial or it could mean Ed.
There was an Ed. Flynn, Ed Flynn. Marv said he was a forest ranger, said he'd been very helpful.
Did he ever happen to mention where Ed Flynn worked?
I can't recall. Hold it, Barnaby. I stopped by the phone company today. Closed out the car phone account.
Local call. Local. Except this one. Clary. Clary, isn't that up near Angeles National Forest? I guess it wouldn't take long for the Forestry Service to tell us whether they have a ranger named Ed Flynn stationed up there.
Grant's gonna take a little nap before supper, I think. He didn't get much rest last night.
He's very good looking. How long have you been seeing him?
Seeing him? We've been living together for almost a year, if that's what you mean.
Times certainly change, don't they?
Not up here, they don't. Keep expecting to hear Mama's voice yelling for her medicine from her bedroom. Mary, I know you must still hate me for leaving you alone with all that. I just couldn't take it.
It's not so bad anymore, with Mama gone. I've really come to love this old place.
Living here all alone all these years. You're still hiding, aren't you? From Bobby.
Maybe. Heaven knows why I should, though. He's still locked up in prison.
Not anymore, he isn't.
What?
Yeah, I just talked to someone from the old neighborhood. Ruth Collins. And she told me that Bobby was being paroled. She specifically told me because she was worried about you. I mean, because of the way Bobby threatened you if you ever got out.
But that was such a long time ago. He and I were just kids. He couldn't still hate me that much after all these years.
Maybe not, but I'm worried. Especially after what happened just a few days ago.
Why? What happened?
Well, this man came to see me. He was a private detective named Marvin Cates, and he said he was trying to locate you. Coming when it did, right after hearing that Bobby was out. You can bet I didn't tell him anything. But it was pretty obvious he was working for Bobby.
Oh, Anita. Do you really think... Yesterday there was a man here, too.
Did you talk to him?
No, I just gotten out of the shower, so I didn't go to the door, but I looked through the curtains, and he hung around outside for quite a long time before he drove away.
Well, the man I talked to, Cates, was about 50, with gray hair and a mustache.
That's him, I'm sure of it. And the more I think of it, you know, driving into Los Angeles later, I had a feeling like I was being followed. And all morning while I was shopping, going to the park.
Hey, come on. It's all right. We're here now, Grant and me.
He swore he'd kill me. He yelled it right out in the courtroom.
Yeah, I know. Well, this is starting to sound a little grim. What are you gonna do? I mean, if he's crazy enough to come after you.
I can't stay here. I've got to get away.
Yeah, but where will you go?
Aunt Carla. She's always after me to come up to San Francisco and stay with her.
San Francisco, that's perfect. She still lives alone, doesn't she?
But the house, it'll take me time to close it up.
Oh, Grant and I'll be glad to stay and look after things.
Would you do that for me?
What's a sister for?
I'm looking for a ranger, name of Ed Flynn.
You don't look like a man who would louse up a guy's day off.
No, sir, not me. Especially if it looks like the guy's going fishing. Some things are sacred.
I'm Flynn.
Jones, Barnaby Jones. I'm a private investigator. I'm looking for a lady named Mary Wilson. She's supposed to live up here somewhere.
Mary? Hey, what's going on? You're the second private detective this week asking about Mary Wilson. She isn't in any trouble.
No, nothing like that. I'm just working on the other detective's case. You see, he was killed in an accident a few days ago.
Killed? Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
But you do know Mary Wilson?
Close to 20 years, since she and her mother and sister moved into that place up the canyon.
She's not married?
No. When her kid sister moved away, 8, 9 years ago, Mary got stuck with taking care of her mother. Nursed her right up till the day she died.
Was her mother some kind of an invalid?
Yeah, exactly what she was. Some kind of miserable, poisonous invalid. Ever since her mother died, Mary's been living in that place all by herself. You know, it isn't right for a woman to be by her lonesome so much. Now, not that I haven't hinted around more than once that I wouldn't mind changing that situation for her, you know.
Well, thank you for your help. I think I'll take a drive up there.
Well, it's 10.2 miles on your odometer. Brown bungalow on the left side of the road. You can't miss it.
Much obliged.
Tell Mary I'll be along in a little while to fix that refrigerator.
Yes?
Good morning. My name is Barnaby Jones. I'm a private investigator.
Yes, Mr. Jones?
I was engaged to try to locate a sort of a missing person, Mary Renee Wilson.
Missing? But she's right here. Would you like to come in, Mr. Jones? I'm Mary Wilson.
Well, thank you. Very nice to meet you, Miss Wilson.
Mr. Jones, I must admit I'm dying to know why I'm a missing person.
Well, before we get into that, I think it's important that I find out if you are the Mary Wilson that I'm looking for. Do you mind showing me some identification? I realize it's very strange for me to come charging up to your door and asking you to prove that you are you.
No, it's really all right. I don't mind proving who I am. How about a credit card? Some old letters, lots of bills. Will they do?
Do you have a driver's license, anything like that?
Well, I don't have a car, Mr. Jones, so I don't have a license. I think you better tell me what this is all about.
Miss Wilson, I understand you were never married.
That's correct.
I hate to pry into your private life, but did you ever have a child?
I really don't think that's any of your business, Mr. Jones. Now, if you'll just leave.
My client is a young lady who is looking for her true mother. I have reason to believe that that's you.
Mr. Jones, are you trying to tell me that my baby is looking for me?
She's still called by the same name that her mother gave her when she was born?
Kelly?
Kelly's 22 now. She just found out that she was adopted. She'd like to meet her real mother.
I'm afraid you'll have to forgive me. I'm really a little stunned by all this.
Well, if you don't want to see your daughter, I'm sure she'll respect your feelings.
Oh, no. I mean, I'm not saying I don't want to see her. I think I do. I think I'd like very much to meet my little girl.
Well, there are certain special considerations that you'll understand after you meet her.
Well, I don't follow you, Mr. Jones.
Well, what I'm trying to say is, Kelly has a copy of her birth certificate. Now, if you had the original, that would be positive, definite proof.
Well, if I still have it, I mean, it's been years. I don't know if I can find it.
Well, if you can't find it, I suppose there are other ways of verifying that you're Kelly's mother. But if you could come up with that certificate.
Well, I'll start looking for it right away.
If you have any luck, give me a call, and I'll try to arrange a meeting with Kelly. Thank you.
Grant, he wants a birth certificate. We need that to make the whole thing gel.
He's really being cautious, isn't he?
Well, for a few $1 million, what do you expect?
All right. If Mary kept it, we'll find it. And if we can't, we'll figure out another way. You start looking in here, and I'll take the bedrooms.
Find Mary all right? Yeah, but, you know, we got to talking. I forgot to give her your message.
That's all right. I'll surprise her.
Grant!
Jones again.
Grant.
Oh, Mary, I'm sorry. For a moment there, I thought you were Mary. Where is she?
Well, she's out of town.
Out of town?
Mm-hmm.
Jones just came from here. He said he had just talked to her.
Well, he was wrong.
Hey, what's going on here? Mary?
Mary's not having any more company today. She said to tell you that she'll call you in a few days.
I want to hear that from Mary.
What are you going to do?
What do you think?
Grant.
We're not letting it get away from us.
Kelly, don't let your imagination run away with you.
Guess I'm just scared.
Of what?
A mother who gave me up because she just plain didn't want me, and who could care less about seeing me now?
You don't really believe that, do you?
Well, glad you didn't start the celebration before I got here.
Please, Barnaby, don't joke around with me.
Second thoughts?
Mm-hmm. Something like that.
Not really. It's not really second thoughts. I mean, I started this, and I'll see it through. I may wish that I'd never been born at all. Barnaby, did you talk to my mother?
I talked to a lady that I am reasonably certain was your mother, yes.
Well, does she have any interest at all in my dropping into her life after 20-odd years?
I'd say she had a lot of interest. Might even say she was enthusiastic.
She really wants to see me. It's amazing.
Grant? I've got it.
Where was it?
It was up there. I remembered all of a sudden Mary used to leave things up there sometimes.
Well, I wish you'd remembered before we tore this place apart. Okay, you can call Jones in the morning, tell him you found it. We can wrap it up in a day or two, way before your sister ever gets back.
Kelly Wilson. Kelly was our grandmother's name, you know. Mom had a fit when she gave it to a baby she was giving away. Wonder what she's like. Pretty, I bet.
She's rich. That's what she's like. Very, very rich.
You know, I used to wonder what it would be like having a baby.
Smart's a lot, I hear.
I don't mean that. I mean being a mother. Grant? He's here.
Betty, what am I going to say to her?
Don't worry. It's going to be all right.
Yeah, this is the original certificate, all right. Sorry I made you dig this up, but there's a lot at stake, you understand.
Yes, I do.
Morning.
Oh, Mr. Jones, this is Grant Brockman.
Mr. Brockman? Yes. I'm Mary's fiancé. Stopped by this morning. She told me what's been going on.
I saw two women in the car. Is one of them Kelly?
Yes, Kelly insisted on coming out.
Grant, she's here.
Yes. Well, aren't you going to ask her in?
Yeah.
Oh, Betty. Hello, Mother. You know, it's funny. I thought it would be so natural.
Well, I think we both need time to catch our breath.
Look, if I made a mistake coming here, starting all this.
Oh, no. I've been thinking all these years about you.
Have you?
Would you like some tea? Would you all like me to fix you something?
No. You two should spend some time alone. Must be a lot to talk over.
Yes, I guess we should.
We'll wait for you out here, Kelly.
Oh, don't trouble yourself, Mr. Jones. I'll drive her back whenever she's ready to go. I'm your mama's fiancé, honey. I hope to be your stepdad real soon.
We don't mind waiting.
No, you've done so much already.
Call us later.
Isn't that something? After all those years.
Yeah. Well, nice to meet you, Mr. Brockman.
Same here, Mr. Jones.
Well, you don't seem too sentimental about the happy ending.
No, I guess I'm not.
Are you worried about something?
Grant Brockman. He said he was engaged to Mary Wilson. Where did he come from?
I don't know what you mean.
According to the ranger, Ed Flynn, Mary's a loner. Doesn't have any friends? Nobody. Where did Brockman pop up from all of a sudden?
Hi, can I help you?
Hi. I just came out to see the ranger, Ed Flynn.
Forest Service business?
Well, no, I just wanted to ask him a few more questions.
Are you a friend of Ed's?
As a matter of fact, I just met him yesterday.
Well, I'm sorry to have to tell you, but his pickup went off the road last night, up on Skyline Ridge.
Your father was a boy from the neighborhood, a couple of years older than me. I was 16. And I really thought I loved him.
What was his name?
Bobby Carter. Everyone said he was kind of wild, but I guess I didn't listen. And then one day he picked me up after school in his car, and he drove me to this little liquor store. I waited outside in the car, and then I heard shots, and then Bobby had all this money. The police caught us that night, but because I was so young and he'd forced me to go, they didn't prosecute me, but I testified. I helped send him to prison. It wasn't until after the trial that I found out I was going to have you. My mother wouldn't let me keep you. She made us move to that house so as no one would know.
Where's my father now?
Last I heard, he was badly hurt in a fight in the prison. And he had permanent brain damage. And he'll be in an institution the rest of his life. I'm sorry, I know it's an ugly, ugly story. Maybe I shouldn't have told you.
No, I wanted to know. What a nightmare for you. I think I can understand now why you gave me up for adoption.
Well, I didn't want to. I really didn't. And then after Mother died, I guess I just got used to being alone.
Well, you're not going to be alone any longer. You're going to come and live with me. If you and Mr. Brockman have no other plans.
Oh, but Kelly.
Mom, I'd like to try and make up for the life you've had. We'll be friends. I know we will.
Barnaby, you are going to worry a hole in Lieutenant Biddle's carpet. I mean, what more proof do you need? I mean, there isn't any doubt that the lady is Miss Wilson, is there?
What about what the ranger said? All those years she spent up there alone.
Perhaps he didn't know. I mean, she obviously had gotten lucky and found a felon.
2 fellas, unless I read the ranger wrong. After all those years of living alone, all of a sudden she got herself 2 fellas.
Well, if you two are here to take me to some nice, quiet place for supper, you can forget it. I already ate.
Lieutenant, we need help.
The line form's right behind me.
The name Grant Brockman, that mean anything to you?
Nope. Should it?
I was hoping it would.
John, we can see how busy you are. If you could just make an R&I check on Mr. Brockman, we'd appreciate it.
Who's busy? 2 unsolved murders, 7 aggravated assaults, 11 other assorted felonies. You think I'm busy?
That's Brockman with a K.
I'll have it for you in a half hour.
We agreed. Besides, Mary will never know, even if she does come back here.
I've thought it through. I'm not leaving her dangling over our head. As soon as I can arrange a good cover story, I'm taking a plane to San Francisco.
Grant, she's my sister.
Think about one thing. Kelly can't have 2 mothers. It's either got to be you or Mary. Understand?
Mary. I found out, Anita. I telephoned San Quentin. I wanted to complain to the parole authorities about Bobby, and the warden told me what happened. That I don't ever have to be afraid of Bobby again. But you knew that all along, didn't you?
I was sure you'd never find out.
Why? You wanted me to run off. You planned it that way. Why?
Got any new ideas, Anita? Or do you want to just leave it all to me? It's Jones. You go talk to him. Get rid of him.
What's going on, Anita? What are you mixed up in?
You go take care of Jones. I'll stay here with Mary.
Anita, please.
Go on. Oh, hello, Miss Wilson. Is Mr. Brockman around?
He had to go into town. I dropped him at the bus.
I thought you said you didn't drive.
No, I said I didn't have a license. I do drive sometimes.
Is this Mr. Brockman's car?
Yes?
According to the DMV, it's a 1972 black four-door sedan registered in his name.
Well, what about it?
Well, there's a car or something like that that was involved in a hit and run early part of the week. A man named Marvin Cates was killed.
I never heard of Mr. Cates. Sorry, but I've got to go back.
Marv Cates was working for Kelly at the time he was run down. It almost seems as if someone was trying to prevent him from finding Kelly's mother.
From finding me?
Where is the black car?
It was stolen nearly 2 weeks ago.
Funny it wasn't reported.
Well, you'll have to talk to Grant about that. I'm sorry, I have some things in the oven.
No, I can't let you do it.
Shut up or I'll put you in a hole with her.
Rockman, let her go! Mary Wilson, isn't it?
Yes.
Mary, would you call a sheriff and an ambulance, please?
This is where she lives?
Don't let it scare you. Right now, Kelly is a very confused and disappointed young lady.
Maybe we shouldn't rush her.
She needs her mother.
Her real mother.
There she is, Mary. Go on.
So I'm a pushover for a happy ending. At least this time it was a happy ending.
We gotta keep doing it till we finally got it right.
Barnaby Jones, a Quinn Martin production, starring Buddy Ebsen. Also starring Lee Merriweather, with guest stars Lee Purcell, Dabney Coleman, Renee Jarrett, Don Knight. Tonight's episode, A Taste for Murder.
Not until midnight. Let's keep everything legal.
Oh, I'll take that. I was born 21. Well, whose birthday is this anyway?
What is this? Complaints from the birthday girl?
You're late, Dad. That's my only complaint.
Well, I didn't want to sit around here all night being tolerated. Hi, Maxie. How's your dad?
Intolerable.
Good for him. Hi, Ted. How are you?
Mr. Clark.
Kathy, good to see you again.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Clark. I felt a little hitchhikerish coming without a date.
You can hitchhike a ride with me anytime, Miss Cooper.
Yeah? Go play in traffic. I'll talk to you later.
Good time?
Perfect. I wish I could be 21 again next year.
I only wish your mother could have been here for this.
Well, when do I get my birthday present?
1 minute after midnight. Now, just be patient. But I want to know something. When is that big horse race now, girls?
An inter-academy invitational equestrian gymkhana is not exactly a horse race, Mr. Clark. That club in Santa Barbara is finally going to lose the cup this year.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to our new ringer from Texas, born to the saddle. I probably won't be here. What? What? My daddy's very strict about my allowance, and I'm way overspent already. So if I don't skip art school and get a job, I'll just have to head back to the old homestead in Houston.
Oh, now, wait a minute. Look, if all it takes is room and board for us to beat Santa Barbara, you can just move right in here with us. Right, Allison?
Sure.
Well, there you go. Besides, I understand without you, the only way these horsewomen will get that cup back is to steal it.
Oh, really
Right.
nice.
Here's to the cup.
Listen, Wayne, I can't keep people out of here all night. Have you got it?
Yeah, I got him. See you at home.
Look at that, would you? I'll give you that for coming in third and bull riding.
No, they sure enough don't.
It took a sweet time getting here. Where you been?
Well, the police were all over the place in about 10 minutes. We all had to stay to make sure the Clarks hadn't invited a cat burglar to their birthday party.
Good girl. You know the 20,000 we get from the Dillingham job and 60,000 these will bring. We're ready to go. Get us packed.
Wayne, I'm not going.
What do you mean? Give 'em that story about your allowance, didn't you?
Yes?
Party's over. We get us that little place in Oklahoma. We settle down, raise rodeo stock.
No. I'm sick of the smell of bulls and horses and hay that you can't wash off from one day to the next.
You went for that riding club ripoff like a kid in a candy store.
Got what you wanted. Just leave me here. I'm staying. Clarks have invited me to live with them, and I like the idea.
You like the idea? No, you got something up your sleeve. I want to know what it is.
Nothing! Just leave me alone!
I said, we're getting out of here.
I told you I'm not going with you!
We'll see about that.
Wayne? Wayne?
Look, it's been a long night, Lieutenant, so if you and your people are through in my bedroom.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Barnaby Jones, private investigator. California Meridian Insurance called me in.
How are you? This is my daughter, Allison, Mr. Jones.
Hello.
Allison. It's as pretty a name as I've ever heard.
Thank you.
Lieutenant, you're up bright and early.
Oh, it's more like tired and late, Barnaby. We've been on this all night. Have those pictures sent right to me. Well, the insurance company's a little anxious, aren't they?
They've been anxious ever since the Dillingham robbery 4 or 5 weeks ago. I guess they figured if they brought in an old doc, we might avert an epidemic.
Well, Doc, we've already got a complete history on this case. I compared the guest list of both parties. Many of the same young people were here, but...
Now, wait a minute. I won't have you suggesting that any of my friends are responsible.
Honey, look, he's not saying that.
But different caterers were used here last night. The musicians that played here were not at the Dillingham's place. We checked the servants.
You have an inventory of what's missing?
That's the Saxony ransom. It's an heirloom set, third generation in the family.
Well, young lady, you must have been pretty excited at the prospect of receiving a present like that on your 21st birthday. Probably told all your friends.
Well, of course, I must have mentioned it to the girls at the riding club a dozen times.
Well, her friends aren't exactly hardship cases, Mr. Jones.
You're not even going to be friends if I don't get over to practice.
And you go ahead, honey.
Goodbye, Mr. Jones.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, Dad.
Well, you mind if I stay around here and maybe catch up with the chase?
Ride off in any direction you want, Barnaby. Well, you find something, Barnaby?
Yeah. Looks like a cowboy boot track.
Cowboy boot track? Well, I'll be doggone.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
I see you have already lifted a plaster cast to one of the tracks over there.
Yeah, they had a country western band here last night. Wanted to compare boot prints.
Did you find a Cinderella?
Nope. But whoever it was apparently entered through those doors there. Had to know exactly when and where.
Inside job.
Someone knew that case of jewels was going to be out of the safe deposit box only overnight.
You questioned all the guests at the party?
They all had very good answers. Listen, if you're working by the hour, I hope I haven't cut into your time.
No, Lieutenant. In that respect, I'm a great deal like you. I need all the help I can get, too.
You're a better man than I am, Betty Jones. He's all yours.
That the file from the insurance company?
Mm-hmm. Photos, history, affidavit information. Tell me, what do you expect those footprints to tell you that they haven't already told John?
Well, the lieutenant was asking the boot prints to tell him who. I'm just asking how. It seemed from the consistently deeper impressions on the right foot, I would say that our thief might have a limp. But he would have had to have legs 9 feet long to get from here to those doors over there without leaving any footprints in between. Let's take a look upstairs. I think this is the one.
The what?
Yeah, the one with the fresh rope marks on it.
You think he climbed in here?
Well, it's possible.
What is it?
That's interesting. Looks like some kind of wax.
Bad. I don't know. Maybe I ought to break a leg or something and give you guys a chance. Maxie, you're just reining too tight on the turns.
You look like you're afraid of old Snowshoe, Maxie.
Gah. He's probably afraid of me. Have you got a compact?
Yes.
Here.
Keep it if you want to. I have another one. I'll see y'all back at the house.
Oh, may I? Sure. It's not my shade. I use medium dissipation.
Kathy!
Hello, love. Don't dash off now.
Bert, what are you doing here?
Oh, don't let's kick that about. Where's Wayne?
We had a fight, broke up. I don't know where he is.
I drove past the place, completely cleaned out. What's going on?
I told you, he's gone.
And left you behind? Oh, come on, love. What are you trying to pull?
Nothing. I've got to go.
Wait a minute. I know Wayne made a score last night. It's in all the newspapers. And don't go looking for another fence. I paid in advance, remember? I have a customer waiting, and I want you and Wayne with the stuff at my place tonight.
I don't know where he is.
Then find him. Do you understand me, lady?
Microscopically speaking, what is it?
Offhand, Betty, I would say that those boots that made those tracks were occupied by an honest-to-goodness cowboy.
You could tell all that through the microscope?
Yep. Whoever it was that climbed a rope up to that balcony didn't use a common ordinary rope. His fibers that I picked up indicate that it was a tightly laid rope coated with paraffin.
A paraffin-coated rope?
Yeah, it's used as a stiffener by ropers and wranglers.
A lariat. I didn't know there were any real rustlers in fashionable Brentwood.
Allison Clark told every kid in that riding academy she was getting these fabulous jewels for a birthday present.
Riding academy. Horses.
Horses. Wrangler. I think I'll tug on the lasso and see who's on the other end.
Betty?
Hello?
In here, Andy.
Oh. Betty, now listen. On my mother's zircon tiara, if that bracelet you bought left one trace of color on that wrist of yours, there's got to be some acid condition in your delicate system, because I wouldn't sell you.
I did leave the message for you, but it was Barbie who wanted to see you.
Oh. Andy, I need your expert opinion.
Oh, my. Barnaby, pictures like this should be X-rated for ex-jewel thieves like me.
You familiar with the set?
This morning's paper called them the Saxony Ransom Emeralds, right?
Right. What was your first reaction when you read they were stolen?
Nostalgia.
What was your second reaction? Did you figure out who might have gotten away with them?
Could be anyone from a gutter junkie to a specialist from the Riviera.
Okay, what about the fence?
Now, there you lower your odds. Who's ever fencing it has probably got a foreign buyer with maybe a third of a million.
Foreign buyer. Europe, Orient, Mideast.
That's the market.
Who works that side of the street?
Only operator I know with the savvy and the passports is Bertram Fisher. Betty British.
Oh, Mr. Clark, I didn't know that you'd be home so soon, or I'd have been decent.
Well, I'd say you're one of the most decent creatures I've seen in a long time.
Thank you. Mr. Clark, I don't think that Allison is totally overjoyed with this arrangement.
Oh? Where is she, anyway?
Ted picked her up. For dinner, I think.
Oh.
Bourbon with just a little splash of water, right?
That's right. Kathy, what do you think of Ted Forrester?
Oh, I don't know. I don't guess I ever give young men his age much thought. Here, I hope it's right.
Perfect. Well, you know, sometimes I think I'm not prepared for the final stages of raising a daughter alone.
Your wife must have been a lovely woman.
Oh, she was. And she had a way of making a home a sanctuary. And it's like they shut down tomorrow when Helene died.
Well, you certainly took a great risk inviting me into your sanctuary.
Well, I just hope it didn't appear too obviously calculated.
Well, for all you know, I might be a very designing woman.
Oh, should I be on my guard?
Maybe I should be on mine.
Well, look, since Allison is obviously occupied tonight, why don't you and I have dinner together? Some quiet place where we can let down our defenses.
I'm sorry I can't tonight.
Should have known better. Man of my age can't compete with the Lotharios of Allison's crowd.
Now, you stop that, you hear? I am quite past the kitten stage of Allison. An attractive man like you is very exciting at any age. How about tomorrow night?
It's a date. Easy, boy. Easy, come on now. Easy. Easy, hold, boy. Hold on. Hold on, boy. Hold on. Easy, come on now. Take it, boy. Come on, boy. Come on, boy. Come on. I need something.
Easy, baby. Ooh, boy. Ooh, baby. Hey, baby. Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, baby. Ooh. There we go. Yeah, boy. There we go. There we go. Come on. Come on. Come on. We'll have a little man here. Here we go, baby. Come on. Here we go.
You make that look easy.
Well, I got a little ranch where I got a chance to practice. Don't you have a wrangler?
Got one, the best. Wayne Tucker. But he didn't show up for work today. Mr. Scott, the owner, he's down in San Diego.
Well, Mr.
No, Tommy Allen. Tom Mix, I ain't.
Well, Tom, I'm Barnaby Jones, private investigator. It's kind of important that I locate Wayne Tucker. I've got a few questions to ask him.
I guess Mr. Scott's got his address where he lives. Wayne's got a pad here on the place, but he don't live in it.
Wonder if I could take a look at it.
Sure, I guess. We put this fella in the barn.
Okay, here you go.
Come on, boy.
Here we go, boy.
Come on.
How long has Wayne Tucker been a wrangler here?
About 4 months.
He from the movies or something?
Rodeo. Big time, I guess. Till he busted up his leg. He still limps real bad, but he sure can handle horses.
He's just boots?
His work boots. You ought to see his dress boots. Genuine alligator.
I wonder if I could borrow these for a little while.
Oh, I don't know. Wayne would have a fit.
Well, Tom, I think I can assure you that these boots will be back here before Mr. Tucker is.
Kathy, my dear, I tried to make myself abundantly clear today. Where's Wayne?
You weren't listening. I told you he's gone.
Yes, I've been pondering on that. No Wayne. And yet your presence here would indicate that you have the...
You can stop pondering. I have him.
I see. No Wayne, and you have the jewels. That puts a different complexion on things, doesn't it?
I didn't come here for comfort.
You don't find me attractive? It must be the lights. Shall we? I had a feeling you and Tucker weren't suited for the grand tour.
You're right. And why don't we just leave it at that?
The love of money does make for strange bedfellows.
For $60,000 minus Wayne's down payment, I could sleep alone.
May I? Oh, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
$1,000? What is this?
Look at his down payments on the future.
The agreement was $60,000.
My deal was with Wayne. Now, at a proper time, when we've worked more together, perhaps...
You're flipped out. I'm through. I want my money.
Kathy, if you're through, then leave. But I wouldn't go too far. The police might want to know what happened to Wayne.
What?
And the Clarks might be interested to know that their recent house guest came directly from the campfire of the missing cowboy. I do my homework, lady.
You weren't there.
Oh, but I would. And you know it.
What do you want from me?
You're in the swim of the upper crust now. You can spot the rich matrons with their glittering goodies and...
I can't do that.
Experience proves different. Now, I know a dozen second storymen more skillful than Wayne. And you and I would make a smashing pair, Kathy. Who knows what exotic villa we may call home this time next year? What do you say?
I think I'd like a drink.
That's my go. Spirits for the spirit. You know, you'll find that I'm a very understanding and generous partner, Kathy. And I must confess that I am somewhat taken with you.
I don't want anybody in there till I say so. Barnaby? Buying, or are you just looking?
Oh, just kicking a few tires. I don't like the way they treat their customers.
Oh, that was the manager. One Bertram Fisher, possible robbery victim. Back at Mr. Fisher's office, I found this item the gunman overlooked.
Gee, that's a dandy.
This little dandy just happens to be one of the articles taken by our cat burglar in the Dillingham job 5 weeks ago.
Very interesting.
Now, you can tell California Meridian Insurance their client can claim his property recovered by the police department as a public service.
He'll be tickled pink.
Yeah. Well, I just hope the customer who bought the Clark emeralds doesn't end up the same way.
I don't like to complicate your life, Lieutenant.
It wouldn't be the first time.
But if it makes you feel any better, I just paid good money to track down Fisher. My source tells me that he wasn't a customer, he was a middleman.
A fence?
Yes, and unfortunately, without the middleman, you have lost contact with both ends. Now, you bagged some of the loot, Lieutenant, but I have a feeling we just lost a quick chance to solve 2 robberies using just 1 pair of handcuffs.
Hi.
Oh, hello. You must be the Clark's house guest.
Kathy Cooper. And you must be the private detective, Barnaby Jones. Did you find just one boot, or did you lose the other one?
Well, let's just say I'm an old tracker, and when I get on a track of something, I have to keep following it till I find out where it goes.
I'm going to have another cup of coffee. Would you like some?
No, thank you, but I'll go with you.
Good.
I think I detect a slight trace of the wide open spaces in your accent.
Well, it doesn't take a detective to tell I'm from Texas.
I knew some Coopers in El Paso.
Houston. My father's Elroy Cooper.
Old friends of the Clarks.
No. I met Allison about 4 months ago at the riding club.
Oh, then you must know the wrangler, Wayne Tucker.
Yes, good horseman. But I think that his real talent, well, some of these delicate northern girls, I find him ruggedly infatuating.
You mean like Allison Clark?
Excuse me. Clark residence?
Yes. Is Barnaby Jones there, please? This is his office.
Yes, he is. Hold on, please. It's your office.
Thank you. Betty?
Barnaby, I finally tracked down the owner of the riding academy in San Diego. He gave me Wayne Tucker's address.
Oh, just a minute. Yeah, what's the address?
It's 3133 Topanga Canyon Road.
3133 Topanga Canyon Road. I'll pick you up in 20 minutes. Oh, Miss Cooper, thank you very much. I enjoyed meeting you and talking to you, and hope to see you again.
Goodbye, Mr. Jones.
Bye.
Sam.
I would say from the tracks out there that our same cowboy has been tramping around these parts.
Looks like Wayne Tucker's already gone that way.
I have a feeling he didn't go that way alone.
Barnaby, come here, look.
Well, whoever it was that he left with was a lady. I have a feeling that she has got a shiny nose by now.
Speaking of noses, do you smell that?
Perfume. Recent.
Hey, what are you two doing here?
Well, howdy. We're just looking for Wayne Tucker.
Oh, so am I. Son of a gun moved out bag and baggage, owing me a month's rent. Next time I rent this place, the people are going to have a grand piano.
Pretty hard to put that in the trunk of your car in the middle of the night, right?
Right you are.
Did Mr. Tucker live here alone?
Well, he may have lived here alone, but he wasn't lonely. There was this brown-haired gal that kept hanging around most times when I drove by.
Did you ever meet her or hear her name?
Nope. But I'm going to be nosier next time. You know, I'm tired of providing the hall and buying the wine.
Well, it's crossed my mind. Girls have fantasies too, but...
No, it's not a fantasy. It's the way I feel about you, Kathy.
Before you say anything more, I think there's something you should know about me.
No, I don't want any confessions. Just an honest reaction. Do you think I'm dreaming?
If you are, that makes two of us. What about Allison?
I should just have to grow up a little about a lot of things.
Well, I hope she outgrows the cowboy stage soon.
What do you mean?
Oh, I thought you knew about Allison's little crush on the wrangler at the riding club, Wayne Tucker.
No, I didn't know about that.
It'll pass. It's so good to have all those small passions behind.
Why, that little...
Hey, forget it. Your dad's a big boy.
Good. Well, shall we order now and spoil everything?
Let's wait, shall we?
Mr. Clark? Excuse me. Miss Cooper, you have a telephone call in the lobby.
I'll be back in a minute, Joe.
All right.
You can stop where you are. There isn't any phone call.
Allison, what a surprise.
Stop it. Maxine Lister told me that registration for art school was over 2 weeks ago. And as for last term, they never heard of you.
I can explain that.
Don't bother. Who are you anyway?
Honey, I know just how you must feel.
Don't you use that motherly tone on me. I know what you're up to. Well, let me tell you something. My father is not fair game. You leave him alone, you understand, or I'll find some way to stop you. I'll find some way.
Good news?
Afraid not. Glad I caught you, Mr. Clark. I wanted you to be here when I talked to your daughter.
Oh, Allison just went riding. What is it?
What about Kathy Cooper? Is she here?
No, she left right after Allison. Why don't you just be direct and tell me what it is?
I think your jewels were stolen by Wayne Tucker, the wrangler out at your daughter's riding club. He's disappeared.
Do you know him?
No. I've heard of him.
He apparently works with an accomplice, an attractive brown-haired girl. He's been seen with her on a number of occasions.
Well, now, wait a minute, Mr. Jones.
Well, you told me to be direct. There were only 4 brunettes at your daughter's party. One of them is engaged, one of them doesn't know where the riding club is, and 2 of them are living here.
Oh, this is ridiculous. What is it you want, anyway?
You ever seen this?
Can't be sure.
Well, I have my cosmetics expert with me. Could we start on Allison's room?
Seem a little uptight this morning, Miss Clark.
Gotta get some fresh air, clear my head.
Hey, take it easy. You'll break your neck.
I've never gone through Allison's things before.
Barnaby?
What is it?
Like 2 peas in a pod. Same shade?
I'm afraid so.
What's this? There is our man. Wayne Tucker, you know him?
No. Allison wouldn't.
Do you think Allison was close with Wayne Tucker?
I don't know. I understand she was infatuated with him.
It's very strange. Smell it.
Well, I've smelled perfume stationery before, but never a perfume picture, and especially from a cowboy.
Are you saying that Allison and this cowboy are stealing from me?
That's not it.
Mr. Clark, would it be possible to have a look at the room of your house guest, the young lady who calls herself Kathy Cooper?
How long ago did Allison leave?
She just left, but she's long gone. The way she took out of here, she wound up killing herself up there.
Maybe I can slow her down.
What do you mean she calls herself Kathy Cooper?
Well, her name may be Kathy Cooper, but she is not the daughter of wealthy Elroy Cooper of Houston. Did you know that?
You sure?
We checked. Elroy Cooper does have a daughter named Kathy, but she's a microbiologist in a laboratory in New York.
Betty, you're the expert.
That's it.
Look, I don't understand any of this.
Mr. Clark, those emeralds have been the cause of the death of 1, possibly 2 people. If someone is trying to implicate your daughter, they cannot afford to allow her to remain alive to deny it. Betty, you and I have got to get out to that riding club now.
I told you I never wanted to see you again. Please, Allison, listen. You're absolutely right. I lied. I'm sorry. Well, so am I. Sorry that I ever thought you were my friend. At least let me explain. Then you can think whatever you want. I'm listening. I'm not who I said I was. I don't have any rich father in Houston. Just dreams. All dreams. Why? You wouldn't know. You've had it all your life. I wanted everything too, and I used people to get it. I'm sorry, I really am. I'll leave, but I didn't want to go having you think so badly of me. Please. All right. Look, I didn't want to hurt you or anybody. It's just my father, you know? You don't hate me? No, I don't hate you. So this is my last ride here. Why don't we go on to Lookout Point?
Miss Clark's out riding, but I'm sure Miss Cooper's caught up with her by now.
Which way did they go?
Up on the North Trail.
Tom, I need a horse, and I need it fast.
We can take mine there.
Thank you.
Betty, call Lieutenant Biddle. Tell him that we may have something interesting for him.
Right away.
You know, if you really want to go to art school, maybe you should.
Maybe I will.
Good.
No use, young lady. Man down there with a siren. He's got a lot of questions he'd like to ask you.
Well, anyway, she didn't lie about her name.
Oh, it's Kathy Cooper, all right, but from Lubbock, Texas.
I really feel kind of sorry for her, wanting things so much.
She didn't start out as a calculating killer.
No. When she wouldn't leave with Wayne Tucker and the jewels, apparently he became violent and she killed him in self-defense.
And then she had that fence on her hands, Bertram Fisher.
And it seems he had eyes for more than just the emeralds.
But she didn't kill him for the emeralds or the money. What she wanted was all of this.
Yeah, I guess I'm to blame for that. Inviting her here. Believing things that I wanted to hear.
Don't blame yourself. She probably told you the truth just for the wrong reasons, that's all.
No, I want to spoil this day with a lot of blame. Heavens, I think we should spread a little credit around. And I think I deserve quite a bit of it. Let's see, if it hadn't been for my fantastic sense of smell and my superb knowledge of cosmetics and perfumes, I mean, where would we be? Right?
Betty, you're absolutely correct.
Ha-ha.
Here, sign the register. Betty Jones, girl bloodhound.
Thank you.
See?